is an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that.
Certainly, you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
And you can't understand the struggles of gun violence if you're not in the field or in the heart of it. So one thing I learned about working with Vice President Harris is she always stand on business.
But make no mistake, this campaign is not just about us versus Donald Trump. Truly, this campaign is about two very different visions for our nation. One focused on the future, the other focused on the past. We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity to build a business, to own a home, to build intergenerational wealth, a future with affordable health care, affordable child care, paid leave. And all of this is to say, building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency. Because we here all know, when our middle class is strong, America is strong.
Certainly, you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
All right. Welcome once again to the Beatzilla PDX official show. I am your host, Beatzilla PDX officially. And this is the midweek report, news break edition. And, we have some things to talk about. I'm sure that this will be widely covered here in the media sphere. And I'm coming in to weigh in, give my 2 cents and change in pesos on this particular situation that took place earlier today with Donald Trump speaking to the National Association of Black Journalists, which a lot of people had major issues with. And then also now a lot of it is being misrepresented. And then, of course, we need to talk about the kickoff, the inaugural stop and opening of the campaign for Kamala Harris as the presumptive presidential nominee in Atlanta, Georgia, with a Meg Thee Stallion concert. And then, of course, we have to talk about Amanda Seales and what Amanda Seales had to say about her interaction with Kamala. And also, we want to just break down the video because there were some things within their conversation that kind of stuck out to me as well. So that is what we were talking about on this evening. So as you are coming into this broadcast, if you would kindly hit that like button, share this out on your social media, subscribe to this channel if you have not already done so, hit that notification bell, hit the word all. That way you'll be notified anytime this channel goes live or a video is uploaded or a video premieres. And then also you can join and become a member of this channel if you would also like to do that. And by becoming a member, you will get some, you will see some videos before the general public. And also there will be videos that might not ever air to the general public in the members only area. And a lot of that will be more of my music stuff and, other stuff as different events take place. So as I said, we have to talk about what went on today. But first, going back to the initial video that I opened up with. And so to get that out of the way, is talking about Kamala Harris's Atlanta stop. And it's been, a lot of people are criticizing it, and rightfully so. And here's the one thing to criticize. We're talking about Megan Thee Stallion and Kamala Harris. Both are college graduates talking to a crowd on a political kickoff in a city that is known for its HBCUs. And we got twerking and dancing and Quavo, who again is, I'm not sure if he was actually born in the United States or not, but they're Haitian. So again, having the Caribbean lineage thing popping, don't let that go unchecked. And then, he comes out. One thing I know about Vice President Harris is that she stand on business. And then she turns around and says the same thing about Quavo. This is ridiculous. And then talking about you can't understand the gun violence if you haven't been in the trenches. Brother, you a little young to be saying that, to be quite honest. Because for those of us who lived through the 80s and the 90s and gang truces and whatnot, before this cat was even itching his daddy's pants, I don't know what got him speaking on American gang violence like that. Yeah, you were experiencing that in your time frame, but you ain't the only rodeo in town, brother. And there's been a whole lot of this stuff going on before you even before your feet touched ground, before you was able to jump off the porch. So yeah, a lot of us do know. And some of us lived on the battlefield. Some of us lived in the battlefield like many innocent, hardworking Americans do. Not everybody around gun violence and gang violence is part of a gang or out here committing crimes with guns. That's not the case. However, there are innocent people within the mix. Because within that same battlefield to which you speak, there's also another entity that also exists, and that's called the Black Church. So if those black churches are existing there, that means everybody's not gang members. That means everybody's not hoodlums. Someone's going to work. And so when you're saying, but they're still experiencing the same death, destruction, and violence, they're not in the field. So to get up there and say something like that on such a stage is just irresponsible. And to have, I guess that was some kind of way of reaching out. Number one, do something about gang violence, then you address poverty. In all of the things of Atlanta to be addressing, don't you think poverty would be one of them? Because there are places of poverty, especially in Georgia. You have poor districts. Not everything is the nice neighborhood of Atlanta. And what about the neighboring states that don't have such a thriving economic metropolis such as Atlanta? They're not, I'm sure they're not faring out all that well. Look at South Carolina. Look at Jim Clyburn's district. They ain't faring out well at all. And so this has been done with all of this Democratic leadership, the whip nonetheless, his district is the worst. And this is one thing that I'm just, out of all of things that are taking place with this particular election, and it kind of works in our favor, to be quite honest, in the grassroots, because one thing that we have not been able to address is the treason, the treasonous poison that exists within our gates. And when I say treasonous poison, I am referring to these secret society Negroes. These we sick boss, because they have still held on. This is their religion. Their Greek side, their Greek religion is their religion. They may say they believe in this, they may say they believe in that. Who they serve will always show in who they're willing to betray. Who are they willing to betray black folks for? And so with that being said, I want to just kind of dive into some of this, because a lot of what you're going to experience from here throughout the election is going to be a lot of black boule, think they're special, talented Negroes coming in your face, trying to disparage you because maybe you haven't sold your soul to a fraternity or a sorority. And so you have a mind of your own and can speak for your own family, speak for your own personal self. You can speak for your community for which you are centered in. You know, if it's a small group of folks that you grew up with, or the people that you just subsequently have met in life, you have a group of folks, a social circle of such. And maybe none of you are tied to a fraternity. And don't get me wrong, the association of fraternities and sororities is a great idea in theory. Here's the problem. You will choose that over your people. You have officially sold your soul. And there is nothing that changes that fact. So, when we are addressing people talking about Kamala Harris is not black. We've established that fact. They're still trying to lie and say, oh, and Judge Joe Brown then came out and broke it down. And I guess let me get that audio. Let me get that audio here. Shout out to Art of Dialogue. I'm sure you guys are seeing this on X. Let me get this audio into the studio. Oh, and by the way, of course, this video is tape delayed. If you didn't know, for those of you who are new, this is not a live video. It might look live, but it is tape delayed. So, just FYI. So, family, if you need to let folks know in the chat that we are tape delayed, please go ahead and remind them. With love, and let's go on forward. Here is Judge Joe Brown telling you about the lineage coming from Kamala Harris's father. And this is a man who met the man.
And then she was everybody's favorite Hindu Indian prosecutor and attorney general and senator. And now she becomes black. But, I met her daddy. Fine gentleman, Professor Harris. And the problem with her being black is Professor Harris says he's Caucasian, mixed Irish and Hindu.
I met the man. Did you hear what he said, family? He said he met the man. Okay? We don't have to debate where of course she's black. She's Jamaican. No. He said he met the man who is from Jamaica and identifying as something other than black. That might be a little hard for you to accept, some of you, but that's the truth. And Judge Joe Brown is telling you the truth. Might be, like I said, I'm sure it's hard for you to understand. I'm sure it's equally hard or doubly hard for people like this to understand. But nonetheless, the truth is the truth. And there it is. Let's hear a little more.
He doesn't have any black ancestors, but his Irish ancestors owned a lot of slaves in Jamaica and had them to work on plantation. So if mama is on the birth certificate listed as a Caucasian,
right?
Daddy says he's a Caucasian Hindu and has no black ancestors. How did she get to be black? And by the way, she told one big lie when she was talking about she got bust because of something Biden did when she was running against him.
Now, this is fact check. And then for those of you who don't know, those of us in the new black media, we have already heard this story, from Judge Joe Brown's mouth himself. And now that he has went on Art of Dialogue, he's sharing the same message that he shared with us. And you're hearing what this man knows. See, when people be coming up to me, he ain't black. I got what you're hearing right now. I've already heard from Judge Joe Brown himself. So either prove him to be a lie. But see, I'm not finna take a bunch of youngins that don't know no better and a bunch of paid bootlicking shills that don't know anything over a reputable man who was a judge and actually met the man that you are saying is a black man. He is not a black man. And there is evidence from someone who has actually met him. He's not black, meaning Kamala Harris is absolutely not black.
Well, the yearbook that she put out there that you can still get online from her high school in Canada shows she went from kindergarten through 12th grade in Canada, never went to school in the United States of America. She was born, by the way, in the same hospital that my ex-wife was born in, the same 12-month period. And my late mother-in-law was, in fact, a pediatric nurse in that hospital when Kamala was born. And the birth certificate that she has is interesting because the confusion comes from a mistake. On the birth certificate, it lists the mother's race as Caucasian, national origin India, and religion Hindu. For the father, it does not list national origin. It does not list religion. It does not list anything about that, but where it says race, they put national origin in Jamaica by mistake.
Mm-hmm. And so there you have that. The national origin was put in by mistake, which is Jamaican, which again, on my previous broadcast, we broke down that Jamaican does not necessarily mean black. And that's been the trick that they have been pushing on black folks for a minute now, which is really an atrocious lie and a despicable tactic. And it really is insulting because it's saying black folks don't have any better sense. And so many black folks and black voters are untraveled in not knowing that you will see many races in many different places. That's like saying going to Puerto Rico. Like, yes, you have Puerto Ricans and you have the nationalities, but you also, in the land of Puerto Rico, you have a lot of mixture. So even in all places like that, you got Arabs and Chinese out there. So you have to look at everything, take all that into account. They want this man to be black because it's convenient. She has been Indian all these years. Now all of a sudden, it's because they need the base. And that shows that how much, this is again, showing how treacherous anybody trying to interfere with your political leverage, that person is absolutely against you, regardless if they have black skin. They are showing you what they are. They are literally telling you, lay down your power because of their lie about this woman. That's insane. But that's what they think of you. I'm sorry, I can't allow nobody to put me in that trick bag. And speaking of trick bags, here's another trick bag that I need to address. And I know this particular shield. Actually, I'll come back to this one. Actually, I'm gonna come back to that because I want to first hit something else. And then we'll come back to the shield because we got time. So, like I said, Amanda Seales, and I'm gonna hit that right now because Amanda Seales has always kind of been known as a DNC shield. And some of the things she is saying right now, it's so funny watching people turn on her because of her interaction with Kamala Harris. And I very rarely ever agree with anything Amanda Seales is talking about. But just like I say about Candace Owens, and maybe even seldomly Jesse Lee Peterson, but but yeah, that broken clock can be right at least twice a day. And to this regard, Amanda ain't wrong. Check it out.
Put in clips of Kamala Harris stating things. I don't need politicians to state things. I need politicians to do things.
Facts.
When I met with Kamala Harris after she summoned me, I said to her straight up, you talk out two sides of your neck and we don't know what you're talking about. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kamala Harris who's trying to shut me the fuck up. Because I told her straight up that I feel like she is disingenuous in her messaging. And she said to me, well, you're being too critical. And I said, I am a voter. I'm supposed to be critical.
Right.
That's my job.
Yes, indeed it is.
And I want to see actions. She said, well, how am I supposed to talk about racism in America without calling Americans racist? I said, well, first of all, there are many.
That right there, that question, family, is a problem. And it really should be a problem for Kamala Harris. Because let's hear it again. What are we talking about?
And I want to see actions. She said, well, how am I supposed to talk about racism in America without calling Americans racist?
Family, do you understand the level of hate crimes against Black Americans is through the roof? We trump every other group, but Kamala Harris herself came out for other groups talking about how they were targeted. And now she is telling a Black person, how do I talk about racism? You could talk about racism when the Asians was getting attacked. You can talk about anti-Semitism every day you want to. Now, all of a sudden, so the United States is anti-Semitic, but the United States is not even close to looking racist. That's the point. This is a president or a presidential candidate who right there is telling you they ain't doing nothing for Black folks. That has not changed. And that question right there, how do you say something like that? Well, how do I, like Black, do you see how Kamala Harris has to view Black folks? She don't view Black folks as equal. And that's why you have a bunch of these boule talented 10th Negroes. I was watching, Comedy Hype the other day. They have these weirdo comedians on there talking, some big light-skinned, weird-eyed looking dude and another old country dude that obviously comes from a line of coons. And they're over here basically co-signing the notion that Black folks really shouldn't be asking for anything, and you can't ask anything and put Black on it and this and that. We don't have to. See, here's the thing I can't stand about people like that. You know that these atrocities have happened. You know that these atrocities exist. And you understand that the group of people affected exist. They don't have all of that getting into now. We can't put the word Black on it. That's fine and dandy. But you understand these people are still here. So to now say, because you can't say Black, which doesn't make any sense anyway, I don't know why any Black person would have put that in their mouths to say that I can't say I'm valuable. That's what that means. My vote is valuable enough for us to be your base. But my vote and my person, my being, isn't enough for you to call me a person. And I'm supposed to buy into that? This is what they pushing. So how can I talk about racism that has only existed in this country since its inception without calling Americans racist? Does that sound like the tone of a person that has any interest at doing anything positive for Black folks? And at the first time that one of them groups that she is cozied up with wants her to attack Black America, well, they already have the buffer class of the Divine Nine. We've seen that happen with Bill Clinton and how they got Joe Biden's crime laws passed back then, which are legitimately Strom Thurmond's laws against Black America. From the grave, that Klansman still affects Black America. And you want to hire the successor of that.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm just going to vote for Kamala Harris. No.
I said, well, first of all, there are many racist Americans, but there's also policy, legislation, institution, and systems that are racist that need to be addressed. They need to be addressed.
Did you see what she just laid out? Systems, policies. These are things, racist policies enacted against foundational Black American freedmen. and you're not doing anything to rectify any of that but 1 hour vote. And then you got the talented 10th Boule traitors that are saying, yes, this black woman, this black woman, that, whose father is clearly not black. Judge Joe Brown told you so. This is how that man identified. Now, they might be trying to get him somewhere now to re-identify and come on out and say, yeah, you know, I in fact is a black man. Stop. But this is the point. See what we have been talking about in the new black media and the grassroots all this time? We are the ones talking about policies and get these laws for us just in place. And so when you start getting them time-wasting trolls talking about, man, so what exactly do you want them to do for black folks? Like, that's a question that don't even waste your time answering. If you've been black in America, you know what that answer is. So you need to stop. And don't waste your time arguing with a fool, because only a fool would ask such a question.
And if you're not going to do that in an actualized way and in a loud, bold way, people will never really know where you're coming from. Well, you can't tell me how I feel. So I'm not telling you how you feel. I'm telling you how you sound.
I'm not telling you how you feel. I'm telling you how you sound. Now, if Kamala cares about the voter base, don't you think she should care how she sounds?
I'm telling you how you sound. Okay? The truth is that you should always question your source and what are their intentions. And what you all need to know is that I don't need to do any of this. I don't need to talk about any of this.
Definitely not mad at her not having to talk about that. And she's right. She doesn't. She definitely does not have to speak about this at all. And good for her. You know, but I'm glad she did, and I'm glad that she spoke the truth about her interaction. Now, all of the people who were defending her before are now, of course, coming out against her. She's a crackpot. This is why her career is washed up. This is why nobody likes her. Yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. But see, this is how the system works. Now they want to smear her. That's how they operate. And, you know, there's no honor in that. And so, because this will be the time-consuming part, we're going to get right on to it. Let me see. Let me just check one thing here. Bear with me one second. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I might play that. Okay. So let's get into this speech. Or, well, it wasn't even a speech. So the thing at the NABJ, and mind you, let me also say something. Something about what was going on. The sound was real janky. So the sound on this was extremely janky. Roland Martin actually was streaming this part as well. And his sound from being in there in the venue was that much worse. So you couldn't hear what they were saying. They were jacking around with the sound. So it's very interesting. However, this woman right here, the lady from ABC, they had her going super duper duper hard at Trump. One thing about it is when you'll read about this particular event, what they're going to tell you is, and what the headlines are going to say is, Trump questioned Kamala Harris's race or national or background or whatever, and you know, then it got nasty. No. this was one of the most unprofessional beginnings of any type of interview I have ever witnessed. And it's very unfortunate that you got 3 black women on stage, one who is a conservative, one who is clearly a blue no matter who person, because she's, by the way, do you notice she's dressed in blue from head to toe? Do y'all recognize she is literally dressed in blue from head to toe? And so he's coming in. Now, look, there's no shaking of the hands, no nothing. They came in, at least they stood up, right? This man is the former president of the United States, like him or not. So it's very interesting, you know, I'm just saying that's, I guess if they wanted that was their get back for old girl with her shoes off, with her feet up on the couch when all the HBCU presidents went through the White House. So I guess that was their get back. But nonetheless, we're going to get here. I can't notice or help but notice Harris is in a full red outfit. And then you got Scott that's in absolute blue. And then this other one who's supposed to be independent is dressed in all black. Are you in mourning? But let's get into this, because I just want to go through a little bit of this, because how they're going to present this to y'all is, oh man, this is bad. Nah, I don't think so. Let's go.
Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabbit to describe black district attorneys.
I want to go ahead and now break down something that's happening right now. This is setting up a question that really could have been used to talk to him about his policy for Black America. But she's talking about elephant in the room. Elephant in the room is that flooded border. That's a huge elephant in the room. You want to address that? Instead, they're talking about, well, this is what you said before. So we're trying to relive history versus talking about with the present, where we are now. And she leads with this. This is one of the things for me that I'm like, this is moving toward the unprofessional side of the game. And because this is more of an ambush thing, and also the other trick that they're trying to do is present a conversation that only deals with the negative things he said and not really get to it about policies for foundational Black Americans. So they have to do a crafty dance to make sure you don't get him in a position to where he will say, I'll do A, Y, and Z for Black America because this is what I'll do and yada, yada, yada. They can't allow him to get to that point. So they have to give all of this pile of dirty clothes and dirty laundry right before they really start talking about anything, because this is what's important to these journalists. Here's another thing that I would probably have wanted to see with this panel is a Black man. It's 3 Black women. And I'm sorry, but I would have to assume every last one of these women, well, not except for the Republican over there, but this woman here, I would have to say, is most likely tied to a Greek organization. So they already have their marching orders. This is kind of a conflict of interest in journalism because she's already coming out the gate with bias. This is not him. He hasn't got a chance to even address anything. This is her setting up a tone of bias within a conversation.
You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Okay, now, when she will ask something like that, why am I hearing this question to only one candidate? He has said something about individuals. Joe Biden literally targeted an entire generation of Black males. There's zero comparison to the harm done. Words, sticks and stones, you break your bones, but words will never hurt me. But the 1994 crime bill destroyed families. What's been the push of the DNC with the nuclear family, especially the Black nuclear family, the dismantling of it. So I hope that we would hear the same questions about the effects that actually have happened. I don't want to hear Kamala or Joe Biden come and tell me how we've been targeted here, how we've been affected. Yeah, we know this. What are you gonna do about fixing it? That's the question. But now she asked Donald Trump, after saying that, how can we trust you? The same way you trusted people that locked up your family members. The same way that you trusted and fought for Joe Biden, who wrote the crime bill with a staunch segregationist. That way, I guess.
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the Black population of this country. I've done so much for the Black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for Black workers and Black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and and I say this, historically Black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it.
And for the record, he is right. Roland tried to come out there and lie and say that wasn't true, but yet it is, because remember, nobody was extending it. So to say, well, that was from Obama and this and that, if he had not intervened, it would have been a major loss in funds, and he made the change permanent versus the way that Obama left it, which was temporary. So again, I'm not here to support or hooray, big up neither candidate or either party. I'm only concerned about the benefit of Black America. And this right here is the conversation of brass tacks policies. This is what they don't want. Right there in this much time of conversation, we heard about something on a record. Something that's done. You know what I'm saying? Well, you said this, you said that. Right. But the policies themselves. See, that's why Democrats don't want to really get in this conversation. And they have to get out there in front of this meeting. And then what they keep telling the rest of the world is, oh, Trump looked horrible. Trump torched this woman. He absolutely annihilated this woman. So we're gonna keep it a buck here. We're not finna lie to you.
I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know
Extremely.
Exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here.
Do you realize that they actually set him up? And then the sound is bad. And then they're acting like everybody, oh, well, I don't know who's responsible for having him speak. I don't know who. Y'all knew for months, because he didn't. Joe Biden was still the nominee when this man was actually asked to come here. And why wouldn't he be? Because, of course, again, he is the presidential nominee. There's two major parties running for president. There is the independent. And in any event, when they come before the black press, they have the opportunity to speak to the black population. And right now, with the black population, we are talking about tangibles, with the exception of the Boule crowd, which is just saying vote blue no matter who, and get no tangibles because, they can't never say black, it can't be nobody gonna get up in the White House if you start talking about all that black stuff. Now, let's just cut out all that nonsense. You ask, what's she gonna do for black folks and what y'all done for, y'all just need to cut out that nonsense. Steve Harvey, you get one of these.
Sambo.
It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well,
and see, here's the crazy thing. They can't do it with Zoom, but they're in talks with Kamala Harris to do a Q&A on Zoom. Them folks is playing games. I hope y'all see. So this was a setup. If you ain't understanding the game, this was a setup because, number one, you lied to him and told him that his opponent was going to be there. Then when he finds out they're not, then he offers to go on Zoom. You say Zoom don't work, although you had a supposed Zoom call with 40,000 black women. But within a week, all of a sudden, Zoom don't work for one individual. And then at the same time you're saying Zoom ain't working, you're scheduling a Zoom call with Vice President Harris. These people are liars. And this is voter suppression as well, because this is where we need to be hearing the truth of policy of what they want to deliver to Black America. This is the Association of Black Journalists. Who are they over here talking to? They're supposed to be offering something to Black America here. That's where this is done. It's traditionally been done in the church, but shoot. And let's mind you, Kamala Harris wasn't even worried about going until I guess they figured Trump wasn't going to go, but until he decided to go, and she didn't. Now all of a sudden they're doubling back, and she's like, oh yeah, let's schedule a Zoom call. But look at what he just said. So they're trying to smoke screen this as well. Kamala Harris was finna blow these Negroes off. I hope you catching that.
Where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming.
Right.
And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working.
Wow.
Mr.
President, I would love
I think
if you
it's
can
a
answer
very
the question
nasty
on your rhetoric
question.
and why you
I have
believe
answered.
So on top of the sound being bad, they were a half an hour late. And now you hear him talking. He's still like responding. Now she's interrupting him to overtalk him. What's going on here?
The question. I have been the best president for the Black population since.
Did you hear Roland? You hear Roland out there? False! You hear Roland out there? False!
Financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe
have
that
answered
Black
the
voters should
question.
trust you with another
I
4
have
years.
been the best president for the Black population since Abraham Lincoln.
Better
That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson,
my
who signed the
answer.
Voting Rights
And
Act.
for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace. I really do.
It really is, actually. He's absolutely right. You had this presidential candidate waiting for a half an hour because you couldn't get your sound right. Does that make sense to you? And mind you, this isn't at the church bazaar. This is the convention for the National Association of Black Journalists. This is literally a media event, and you couldn't get your sound straight? Oh, man. Oh, man. Who's looking bad here? See, they're out here trying to tell you that Trump is looking bad. Are you kidding? First off, this is how this started, and he sat there and took it. He didn't walk off. I mean, so there's that part.
Just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president, and be on a...
Nope, she's not Black. Donald Harris is not a Black man. We've already established that. But see, this is the other problem, because they are willing to go with the insult of the lie. She's not a Black woman. Yes, she went to Howard University. Many non-Black folks go to HBCUs. There are non-Black people in Black fraternities because Black folks don't know how to keep nothing to themselves. So there's nothing new there. So to sit up here and start saying that just automatically means Black, are you kidding? Breakdancing right now is in the Olympics. Does breakdancing just mean Black? You see how they trying to remix hip hop? So, I mean, stop it, please.
A major party ticket as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans?
Why is she asking about random people that made random comments off the cuff? Who cares? You have a presidential candidate there. Talk to him about what he can offer Black America. What on earth is this?
Republicans and those supporters to stop it.
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
Give me a
definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a very direct question.
Define it for me, if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a Black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She is always identified as a Black.
No, she is not, ma'am. No. Nope. And see, this is, and this is my problem. No, she has not always identified as Black. Let's roll the tape.
It's an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that.
Certainly, you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Knock wood.
Okay. Yeah, she identified as Black, as being the first Indian senator. Uh-huh. Yep.
I respect either one. I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe?
Is he wrong? There's public. See, here's the problem. Even down to the coverage of like Axios And these people have old articles of Kamala and only relating to her as Asian, Indian American. Now all of a sudden she's black. And she's the first and she's a black American. Well, she can't be a black American with a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. They're both immigrants. That's not a black American. She could be Indian, Jamaican, American, but she's not a black American. There's a reason why they keep saying black. And they're like, I'm not going to argue blackness. Black American, you understand we done went through the whole, what is that? The OM, whatever that, the OMB. Y'all remember that was just what, last year? How we're going to identify and breaking down the delineation conversation. They're trying, well, this is flat blackness. Do you understand why so many of these tethers had an issue with delineation? Because they understand their futures are tied to the fraud. Now you can kind of see why they be getting so upset, because, you know, when in this event, ain't nobody checking for helping sending money to no Caribbean. For a bunch of people who sitting up here in the Black Caucus backdooring black folk. I'm not mad at somebody willing to put a stop to that.
I think somebody should look into that too when you ask continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans
I really don't
have
know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length, and we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well, you told me it was the longest.
Now, here's the thing. Why she spent all of her talking time talking about that. Here's Harris. Harris is on Fox News. Let's see what Harris talks about. Because, see, the Democrats say the Democrats are the party for black folks. And so she didn't ask this guy anything about what black folks would get from a president. Because, see, again, if he wins, then he's still president. What do black folks get if he wins? Like, and they're acting as if that is not an important question, which is very insane. But let's hear what Harris has to say from Fox News.
One of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
Right. And we already knew what that meant. And so while speaking at the National Association of Black Journalists, a black journalist asked Donald Trump, what is a black job? Well, a black job might be considered to be a black journalist. Maybe a black Amazon worker. Because once again, I can tell you that absolute illegals are getting jobs at Amazon here, and those jobs aren't paying minimum wage. Those jobs are paying in between 17 to, I believe they start somewhere around 17, 18, 20 bucks. So that's what they're making coming around across the border. Not to mention they're getting phones, they're getting help on car loans and getting transportation and getting license somehow from somewhere while being illegal. But I guess because this is a sanctuary city, Yeah, so they're caking up. It's all good. They can just call their family members, come on over and share the wealth of the American taxpayer, thanks to the Biden-Harris administration that opened the gate day one, because everybody was, oh, that wall is inhumane. Oh, the wall, the wall, the wall. Nobody is looking at that wall as inhumane right now, are they? Meanwhile, we got a whole Venezuelan gang that has taken up root in our country thanks to these people. Thanks, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, because this is what they are doing right now. And he wants to put a stop to that. I say, well, that works for me.
And
Mr.
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs. And frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries.
For those people who are too young to understand what he's referring to, if you saw the movie Scarface, you might be a little relative, might understand a little bit of what he's talking about, because when that was going on here, Cuba was most definitely emptying their prisons and insane asylums and putting those people on boats and sending them to America. So basically getting rid of all the undesirables. That is not a foreign thing to do in South American countries, by the way. So I hope that would be understood, which, some people just don't want to understand it because it's just simply the truth. But it is what it is. So, here we go.
Are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same.
Notice how she actually asked about the black community, when the first woman up there, who was the Democrat, absolutely didn't. She just blew her time badgering him about what he has said. Like she was doing an audition for The View. Because that's all that sounded like. It was okay. So, and I'm glad that this woman here actually preface what she said, but we all understand we're not on the same philosophies. Got it. And now getting down to the simple matter at hand. What can the black community look at from you? Because again, the reality is, even if we don't vote for a presidential candidate, or we don't vote for we vote independent, vote third party, or vote, and Trump wins, what is he offering to black America? Because we already know Kamala's answer. And she'll give you some free concerts and twerking. This first it was get your booties to the poll, then it was no voting, no vucking. With that madness. And now we got Meg Thee Stallion bringing out Kamala Harris. Big upping abortion, by the way. Shout out to my hotties. I know y'all like to keep y'all bodies, so y'all know who y'all got to vote for. What? That is not a right to. Hey, for all you church folks, all you good Christians, how are you participating in that? There's nothing. You don't have any kind of moral dilemma there. It's interesting. That's just very interesting. But anyway.
We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
True.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts, and this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single Black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the Black community when it comes to money?
So the Republican asked Donald Trump an economic question for the Black community. I would love all of these people that are up in Kamala Harris's face to do the same thing. But I just have to assume that all of those people absolutely hate Black people. They get the luck and banner of wearing black, but they see themselves as one of the blue God squad, and they absolutely hate Black folk. You would have to, because how did she figure out how to ask an economic question about what he's going to do economically, specifically for Black folks? You literally let the Republican get up there and ask that question when you could have done it yourself. And they're going to come back to Black folks, especially Black men, and y'all need to protect this shit and that. Hey, y'all are losing it for this woman. Not her, not even him. You. We see y'all. And this is a problem. This woman legitimately just simply asked him a question about what you gonna do for Black folks. Steve Harvey, we need to cut this nonsense out. That's the mind of the talented 10th Negro. The treason is off the charts.
Oh, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact
and then
that
they messing with their mics.
Because I guess, this woman was able to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But
wow.
So I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating. And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. Woo. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young Black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money. They can't buy because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the Black community probably as much or more.
So what do you do?
Than any.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls. And then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight, a prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing where you say, let's bring in another fighter.
Right.
So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our
Now notice how he's cooking about policy and who comes to interrupt him. And it wasn't even her question. But now she's interrupting him while he's answering Harris's question. This is just, and he's looking bad. These are professional journalists doing this. She's so emotional right now, she can't contain herself. This is not good.
Country, but the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation.
You see how you do that? You say black folks and the black population, the black community, and everybody else. See how you don't exclude talking about black folks? See, if Trump can do it, how is Kamala telling Amanda Seals, how am I going to say this? Y'all better get your minds right.
Is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58, whatever it may be. They don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too.
That's
but
true.
Inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr. President, can I ask you another question
Yes.
that is also impacting Black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed Black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
I would first ask that question to Barack Obama. See, this is my thing about these folks. All of a sudden, it's a problem. You found ways to justify it when it was Barack Obama. But now that it's, well, you're going to say you giving police immunity. What did you think Joe Biden was doing with trying to get rid of the Miranda rights? Trying to backdoor Black America on that. What are you talking about? See, and this, people act like folks don't know. Yes. And again, shout out to all the voices of New Black Media and all of you in the grassroots that make sure these checks and balances stay right here dominant on the scene. That's why they have to spend, now they're probably upwards into the billions right now combating the Black agenda. Ain't that something? And look at these traitors up here that are so eager to stab Black America in the back yet again for a woman who ain't even Black while lying, knowing she's not, and then try to shame us into falling for a lie. Ridiculous.
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something, and it didn't look good to me.
And that's not a good answer.
Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well, police unions are not backing this person either.
Okay.
But again,
they're going to be charging the officer? I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks ago, July 4th weekend, they had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our police officers have the respect and dignity back in this.
Yeah, I definitely can't agree with you there, buddy. Yeah, no. And this is a huge oversight on the law enforcement system that actually needs to be addressed. So for this, probably the wrong crowd to go with that one.
This particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
Well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if
still not sounding good, man. Still absolutely not sounding good. No, and the whole qualified immunity conversation really needs to die on the vine.
If somebody made an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine
you
an
go
innocent
after
mistake?
somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous, and they have the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing, because sometimes you have less than a second to make a life and death decision,
and they probably shouldn't be in that job.
They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of
no, in a lot of cases they are. And that's the part that we have to address as well. Because no, we don't, if there's racists in America, then we need to deal with racist cops. Period.
Made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly. I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted. I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case. And I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't, because he wasn't president at the time. And he had 50 years worth of documents. And they ruled that he was incompetent and therefore he shouldn't stand trial. And I said, isn't that something? He's incompetent and he can't stand trial, and yet he can be president.
Man, here's my thing, and this is why y'all really need to deal with the new black media, especially those of us who hail from the University of White Supremacy, known as Portland, Oregon. You need to understand how to deal with white supremacists or white nationalists. If you don't understand that, don't go in here thinking you're just going to take your little HBCU education to the big show and it's just going to work being sassy. No, these cats are stone cold sharks, and you have to be a shark if you want that. But even with that being said, I wouldn't have been asking them questions, because you just handed him a softball while thinking you were taking him down the road of harm. You still end up giving him a softball. This whole going at, you could have just let it be and let him stand on what he's going to do. But all of this trying to, you trying to rein in DAs like the ones who are prosecuting you. What is this? This is insane, to be quite honest. And again, you don't have to like the man, but you're professionals, and this is a presidential conversation talking about election that is happening in less than 100 days. This is where your head is at? That's a problem.
Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory, and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it.
We cover you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over on to
Now, why does she keep interrupting him? He's clearly not done answering the question from the previous person. But once again, blew no matter who. I mean, boy, she blew inside and out, ain't she? She cannot help but show her disdain. And the way that the media is framing this interaction is something that you guys are ignoring the nastiness of this sister right here. And he sat there and answered questions on policy. But let's see what questions she's going to ask. Let's see if she asks something about policy this time, since it was so urgent for her to interrupt him again.
I didn't notice you do any publicity on it at all. I won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent. I have another one where I have a hostile judge.
We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different topics.
Excuse you, you're the one that held me up for 35 minutes.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign. Senator J.D. Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past.
Oh my goodness, this woman is stuck on everyone else's comments. You have Donald Trump, who is the presidential nominee, in your face. Ask him a question for Black America. Here she is. Well, you got J.D. Vance as your running mate. He's made some interesting comments. I want to go over his comments with you. Why? Can we not talk about Black America? Thank you, Harris. And I don't usually watch Fox News, but had it not been for the conservative Republican that works for Fox News, I wouldn't have heard anything about the Black community. All these other two women did was just badger. They acted like we don't exist. They're just trying to get up here and do a shaming campaign, while the other woman literally asked about Black America. But these Democrats refuse to ask any question on behalf of the people. All of this is, we don't care about what J.D. Vance said in the past. Who cares? This only matters to the Democratic line, especially when it comes down to abortion, but also when it comes down to avoiding the mass illegal invasion and doing something tangible for Black folks.
He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made.
Childless cat ladies.
They want
That's
to make
the
rest
focus.
of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate? And do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families that didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking
Excuse
about
me.
families here.
And
He also
some of
says that
those
people that don't have children should get less.
See how she keeps interrupting his answer? So she asked the question. He's in the process of answering. She doesn't like it. So she interrupts him again to further add on to the question. You could have just asked him what you wanted to ask him in the first place versus trying to lead this man somewhere. See, this is what looks disastrous, and they tried to make it seem like it was him. No. This is absolutely classless and it's shameful. And I really wish that we would have people who take these moments and actually talk about Black America. Talk about the issues dealing with Black America. All this woman has talked about is all of this. Oh, this person said that. This person said this. You said this and that. None of it has anything to do with any policy conversation whatsoever. So that right there is telling you, when it comes down to the Black folks that represent that DNC, they are going out of their way to avoid talking about doing anything for Black folks, even while sitting up here in the National Association of Black Journalists. They find it so important to talk about anything else other than the issues of Black America, because the issues of Black America is not finance, not illegal immigration, but the vice president nominee talking about childless cat ladies. And that soundbite trumps all of Black America's issues because that's what this woman is deeming to be so important.
Votes than
That's
those
all right.
that do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
Is that your
and I
campaign
think
position?
I'm speaking for him too. He strongly believes in family, but I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family. And the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation, you'll have to ask him actually, but my interpretation is he's strongly family oriented, but that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person, one vote. Senator J.D. Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children. I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I have ever heard before. I can tell you this. Right now, you have illegal aliens coming into our country, many from prisons and many from mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally, and they're taking the vote away from all of the people in this room.
Yeah, ma'am, you just told another lie right there. A stone cold journalist just bald-faced lie. It's already been proven that these illegals have been voting in some of these states. And in other states, cities like New York City, trying to make it to where illegals can vote. So to say only American citizens can vote, that's incorrect. That should be. You are right to, in theory, to say it should be. Yes. But they are going, and here's the thing about what Democrats want to do in these cities. So they want to change the laws to where illegals can vote. And that's the whole thing. The illegals should not be able to vote. Well, you can't vote if you're an American citizen. What are they trying to do for all of these illegals? Trying to find a quick pathway to citizenship. And one thing they want to allow them to do is before their citizenship is actually finalized, they want to allow them to be able to vote. So that woman just told a bald-faced lie to say, well, only American citizens can vote. And it's already been proven while on Capitol Hill in these hearings that illegals indeed have voted by the thousands. So what is she talking about? She's, again, National Association of Black Journalists. To get up here and start doing this it's a very, very bad look to the Black media sector, because the moment you got your shine, you absolutely crapped the bed by thinking you were just going to go at this man on, I'll sass him and out question him. And then this is ending badly. But I guess that was the backup plan. So if he torched you for real, then you'll just have the media come out and say how it actually went another way. This woman is getting absolutely burnt. And all he's doing is sitting there doing it in a calm fashion, calm manner, with a calm demeanor, explaining the contrast of policies. I don't know how y'all have such a problem with this conversation. It's amazing. Wow, policies that affect Black America. Man, shame on him for talking about that.
Room that have been here a long time, that have worked hard, that in many cases, and you'll see this happening, if I'm not elected, you're going to see it happening. If I am, you're not going to have any problem. But you're going to see it happening a long time. You're going to see the people in this room and people outside of this room are going to be losing their jobs, the people that have come into this country illegally.
Mr. President, can we stay with just kind of the state of the race right now? Because I felt like that vice president question, candidate question was right in there with that. So let's talk about J.D. Vance for a little bit. He's had some stumbles out of the gate. I don't know if you're hearing what we hear as reporters, but it's been a tough couple of weeks for him. Why did you choose J.D. Vance?
Why didn't I?
Why did you choose him? And I'm having a hard time hearing too.
I
know
chose him
everybody
because
out there can, but it's hard
I'll tell
to
you
hear.
why. I chose.
Notice, why is she the only panelist on stage that is having a hard time hearing, and he's having a hard time hearing her? But the other two's mic is hot, and they can interrupt, and they can be heard. Why is it that the person that's asking him about actual policy keeps getting their sound messed with? Don't miss that.
Because he's a very strong believer in work and the working man and woman, and especially the working man and woman who have been treated very unfairly, because you have many of them in this room. But you have many of those people, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book that became a bestseller. The movie became a smash hit. He's a very smart guy.
Okay, well, so he's done some things. So he's no dummy. I'm gonna go on and skip a little head.
But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically, the vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And then that dies down, and it's all about the presidential pick. Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different reasons of what we're talking about, not for vote reasons, but for political reasons, other political reasons. But historically, the choice of a vice president makes no difference. You're voting for the president, and you can have a vice president who's outstanding in every way, and I think JD is. I think that all of them would have been, but you're not voting that way. You're voting for the president. You're voting for me. If you like me, I'm going to win. If you don't like me, I'm not going to win.
I'm going to get
Simple
my
as
JD
that.
Vance question in.
JD Vance?
I'm going to get my JD Vance question.
Sure.
Oh my goodness. He just told you it really doesn't matter. You're voting for me. So vice presidents are pretty much inconsequential. And so if you like me, I'll win. If you don't like me, I won't win. Okay, so I just want to ask my JD Vance question. What is wrong with these folks? I'm going to just skip past that altogether. Good grief. JD Vance is not running for president. The man in front of you that you're talking to is. And you know who you should be representing right now? Black America. Ask him one question about what will he do for Black America, please. You got 2 different reporters up here representing the Democrats. Can 1 out of 2 out of 36 minutes please ask one question for Black America? Why did the Republican steps in, asks the question about Black America? You got 2 Democrats up here. This is Black folks, the base and the figureheads of the party for the Democrats, and you got these 2 Democrat people up here that refuse to ask any kind of question about a policy for Black America. They keep talking about all this trivial nonsense. Oh, so, J.D. Vance, he's pretty much irrelevant, but I want to spend this time on this stage talking about an irrelevant topic such as what J.D. Vance has said. Oh, no, now you just said we're voting for you, and if we like you, you'll win. If we don't like you, then you won't win. But I'm still going to just take this time, instead of asking for something about what you will do if you win for Black America, I'm just going to ask you about J.D. Vance again. Oh, my Lord.
Look at throughout the world history, the greatest leaders, some of the greatest leaders in the world were in their 80s.
But here's the question. Would you consider stepping down if you felt that your health was declining? Or would you?
Oh, absolutely.
And who would
I think I'd know.
How would you make that decision?
I think I'd know. Look, if I came onto a stage like this and I got treated so rudely as this woman treated
Oh my
me,
goodness.
and I'm fine with it because she was very rude, sir. Very rude.
Yes, she was,
That
Roland.
wasn't a question. She
Sir,
didn't
you
ask
can
me a
answer the
question.
question.
She gave a statement. That wasn't a
Right.
question.
That was a statement, Roland.
You said you.
And why the hell is Roland talking to him anyway? You're in the crowd, Roland. This is a shame. Oh my God. Roland can't contain himself. No, she didn't say that. Oh my goodness. Roland Martin, shut up. Just sit down in your seat and be quiet and enjoy the show, dude. I mean, what is he doing? Why do I hear his voice bleeding over on their mics? Come on.
You would. You would.
Oh, absolutely. If I thought that I was failing in
too
some
much.
way, I want people to be sharp. I'll go a step further. I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them and I aced them.
Well,
I took 2 of them. But let me ask you,
Yeah.
I would like to have people running for president, and I don't mean because they're 75 or 85. I think anybody running, I'd like to do it. People say it's not constitutional. I would like to have something passed where you can do it. I think we should know. I mean, I've watched what's happened in the last couple of years under this gentleman, and our country is a mess. We have inflation. We have the millions of people falling in. We have Afghanistan, which was...
This woman absolutely has no clue about white men. And definitely not about made white men. Self-made, well, you got to say, you say what you will. Made white men, they don't have any clue on how to really interact with them, and they are just getting straight cooked. And everything they do, he keeps turning back. It's like they're thinking they're hitting him, and it's really just a softball for him to knock it out the park on you again. If it wasn't for the mainstream media running interference with such a debacle, that's why I made a post on X earlier. I hope that y'all watch this, because if you just rely on what they say, you guys, you're going to be missing out a lot of real truth about what's going on. And also the other part is the Democrats up here refused to ask anything about policy for Black America. It was the Republican from Fox News that did so.
It's the worst, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. What he has done to our country, and her too, what they've done to our country. She has been a horrible vice president. She's considered the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Don't mean to interrupt you, but would you consider
Forget about
taking
that.
a cognitive test?
Mr. President,
I would love to
and
do
make
it.
it public.
Well, I've already taken 2 of them, but I'll do it again.
Mr.
I
President,
suggested...
how
He already answered her question. Did she not hear him? What? Would you agree to take a cognitive aptitude test? I took 2 of them and I aced them. I'll take another, sure. He literally answered her. So you didn't answer my question. Will you agree to take a cognitive aptitude test? You're not even listening for the answer to your own question? At the time when Black media gets, like I said, this is the spotlight is on you. You can't crap the bed like this, man.
do you intend to...
I suggested, Harris, that let's take one. I said, Joe and I will go and take a cognitive test. Now, I'd do it with her too. I would do it with her also. You know what? She failed her law exam. She didn't pass her law exam, so maybe she wouldn't pass the cognitive test.
Mr. President,
Are you saying she wouldn't pass? Just to be clear,
I'm just giving you the facts.
to be clear, you don't think
I'm
Harris
just
how do
giving
you
the
intend,
facts. She
and
didn't
look,
pass her bar exam, and she didn't think she would pass it, and she didn't think she was going to ever pass it. And I don't know what happened. Maybe she passed it.
she did pass it.
There's a
She
man
did-
over
she
here.
did
I
in
think
fact pass
he
it.
must work for
Mr.
her.
President, I would love to.
He wants to. This man out here, I think he works to. I think he works for it. No, he wants to. But yeah, he most definitely wants to. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Do you know this is just the divine 9, let's get him moment. And it didn't really turn out the way that they thought it would, but you know, they got the MSNBCs and the CNNs that can spin this. But if this was what you were saying is a bad look for him, no, it's a bad look on the Democrats, and it's most definitely for the old Black media and these new voices of the old dead Black media. This is an indication and showing you what they're all about. Not once could they ask this man about a policy for Black America. And that is the position that they hold. There is your divine 9. Just like you see on your screen right now, blue out, blue in.
To ask you about January 6th. You've called yourself the candidate of law and order. When Time Magazine asked you if you would consider pardoning all the rioters, you said, yes, absolutely. Sure. You called them patriots. 140 police officers were assaulted that day. Their injuries included broken bones, at least one officer lost an eye, one had 2 cracked ribs, 2 smashed spinal discs, another had a stroke. Were the people who assaulted those 140 officers, including those I just mentioned, patriots who deserve pardons?
Well, let me bring it back to modern day. Like about 5 days ago, we had an attack on the Capitol, a horrible attack on the Capitol. You saw the people that were protesting and spraying these incredible monuments, bells, lions, all these magnificent limestone and granite with red paint, red spray paint that will never actually come off, especially on the limestone. It will never, I'm a builder, I know about this stuff. It'll never, you'll see it in 100 years from now.
Roland can't contain itself.
Police, they fought with them much more openly than I saw on January 6th. What's going to happen to those people? What's going to happen to the people in Portland that destroyed that city?
But sir, my question is on those.
What's going to happen to the people that tried to
those rioters who assaulted?
Oh, those people that were in Portland destroying the city? Oh, they're the same ones out there in D.C. destroying D.C. So unless you really want to go down that rabbit hole, because it wasn't Portlandians tearing up Portland. That's not the case. No, that was the paid for squad. The same people who actually pay for these people talking right now, by the way. Go figure.
Officers.
You have to,
would you pardon
what's
those
going to
people?
happen? Oh, absolutely, I would.
You
If
would
they're
pardon
innocent,
those?
If they're innocent, I would pardon them.
They've been convicted.
And by the way, the Supreme Court just...
Did she just say being convicted means that you are guilty? See.
Well, they were convicted by a very tough system. How come the people that tried to burn down Minneapolis, how come the people that took over a large percentage of Seattle, how come nothing happened to them? How come the people
sir, we're talking about
because they're still out there in Washington, D.C. They're all the same people. There's the trick bag of that one. All of those, the traveling vandalizers, the traveling vandals, yeah, trust me, there was hotels hosting folks. This is, y'all got to understand, when they talk about dark money, that's real. For real. Especially when here in Portland, there's no way that you can sustain 3 months of protesting without financial backing of a major size. And they were feeding these people out here, by the way. And so then they're being housed and homed in the city. What are you kidding? No, somebody was definitely funding that. Because these folks were not from here. We had a whole city's worth of outsiders. And now they gone, and we just deal with the cleanup of it all and the aftermath. So yeah, don't fall for that.
People that were seen beating officers with flagpoles, dragging them down the stairs. They're on video. Have you seen that video, sir?
Oh, really? Well,
you would pardon those rioters?
They shot a young lady in the face who was protesting. They shot her in the face. You know, nobody died that day. You do know that. But people died in Seattle. Nobody died, but people died in Minneapolis. You know, people died in Minneapolis. And nothing happens, and nobody ever talks, and nothing happens to those people. You went after the J6 people with a vengeance. And I'll tell you what about the cops that were...
And none of them got really stiff, harsh penalties either, by the way. Yes, they did go after them, but they're not all of them folks is getting hit with what they could have. Let's just be clear.
And I'm all for the police, as you know. But what about the police that are ushering everybody into the Capitol? Go in. What about that? Look, nothing is perfect in life. But you have people from Minneapolis, You have people just from 5 days ago in Washington, D.C.
Folks in the
They
crowd
were
or
having
something else, ain't they?
fistfights and fighting with the police. They were spraying and destroying. They were desecrating our monuments in Washington, D.C. 5 days ago, and nothing happened to them. And you can't have two systems of justice. That's why they went after me as a political opponent, because they felt they couldn't win without doing that. And we're going to win our cases and we're going to be vindicated. But I have to spend a lot of time on that and money. That's what they want. After the election, they won't care. Although in my case, I think they probably will, because the hatred is pretty deep. But I'll tell you, they went after
You
me
already
as a
know.
political opponent. That's never happened in our country before. And it sets a terrible, terrible precedent.
It definitely does. And I think with that, because it's pretty much wrapping up, so he didn't even get the chance to really respond anymore to anything, because they get him up out of there. Now, and also with that, there, as much as he just sat there and talked, they tried to present it as if he like cut and ran, and he definitely did not. The interview clearly was not a complete hour. But it definitely was closer to the 40 minutes. So you're 20 minutes shy of an hour. It's not like he really cut and ran. He stayed for over 30 minutes. And not only that, with all of the rudeness, and y'all were late. So there's a lot to really look at there. But one of the things that they're really trying to talk about right now is, he's talking about Kamala's race. And so, yeah, because she like my last broadcast, magically black. And she's not. She's simply not black. Out of her own mouth.
It's an Indian recipe.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are
Yes.
Indian.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't know that everybody knows that.
Certainly, you could become the first Indian senator in U.S. history, which would be quite an accomplishment.
Not good.
And this is why they're upset at us. Because black Americans have been fed up for decades of benign neglect policies. And right now, thanks to Joe Biden stepping down, because, the black grassroots had pretty much made sure that it was a foregone conclusion that he could not shore up the black vote. So they have to rely on Kamala Harris, who is an HBCU alum of East Indian heritage, not black at all. But because of her melanin, they are willing to lie and say, even go further than being the child of two immigrants, that she is a black American, which she most definitely is not. But they are willing to defend that position and tell black men we need to defend this Caucasian woman who's married to a man of Caucasian-esque lineage. And we're supposed to protect her. It's our jobs to protect her. Protect her from what? And here's the other thing that I really, really don't understand. For a woman who inherited $240 million, what on earth did you need to go get on a Zoom call for to go raise money for a woman who's sitting on $240 million? But then we turn around and see black journalists get in front of a presidential candidate, because we know they ain't. Well, we saw what Steve Harvey did. What did Steve Harvey do? Man, these are softballs. These are softballs. We just watched Donald Trump go into the Lion's Den, and we heard about black issues. Unfortunately, not from the Democrats, but from the Republican, by the way, who actually sought to ask a question about what he would do for the black community. It's shameful that these people say they represent Black America. They say they speak for Black America, but they refuse to absolutely ask one question out of all of that time. What was he going to do for Black America? You know why? Because they understand the candidate that they are pushing, and they understand the mandate of her and the rest of the DNC, which is simply this.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
So when you ask us why we would vote for the couch, I would just simply have to respond with this.
How can Black people rise up and overcome?
Get out and vote?
That is incorrect. I'm sorry.
Babylon is fallen. Babylon is fallen. Let it fall, please, and let us rise. Can you dig it? Yes, indeed, family. Lord, 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 Lord. So, lastly, this tether right here on the bottom left. She was the former co-chair of this National Association of Black Journalists. She stepped down in protests because she felt that she was blindsided by this, which this really kind of just looked like a big to-do about nothing, since they already had known that they extended the invitations to any presidential candidate, regardless of what party. So this is a constant practice. It's just that the former Republicans didn't go. They were still invited. So why wouldn't this presidential candidate be invited? It only makes sense. But nonetheless, she felt that, I'm going to make a stand and I'm going to make a big, okay, well, salute to you, because you don't represent Black America, no way. So go find something else to do, tether, and stay out of our Black business. Thank you. So this has been Trump Speaks to the NABJ and Fact Checked them about Kamala Harris being full Indian, not Black. And we doubled down on that with the sound piece, the sound bite. Shout out to Art of Dialogue from Judge Joe Brown, who had actually met Kamala's father and was told how he identified from Kamala's father. This is not secondhand information. That is coming from the man himself. While y'all are still going to sit up there and try to lie, that's okay, because we know the truth. And we have to now start looking at all of you funny because you would be willing to sell Black community up the river on a lie. Because that's all you're doing, pushing Kamala Harris down our throats. Because sometimes we know it's not what you know, it's who you blow. Both of these women on your screen, by the way, they've always touted, oh yeah, first Black this, first Black Supreme Court Justice. Both of them chose white men. So if you are a bootlicking shit who believes that we should just be voting blue no matter who, and we should just accept everything that they push on us, I'll tell you first, Ukraine is not our responsibility. Why? Because we might just have to vote for the couch. Because here's another thing. What has Kamala Harris said about all of this money continuously going to Ukraine? What does she plan to do when spending money with Israel? We haven't heard about her foreign policy. You right, we haven't heard nothing. All they saying is get on board. We ain't heard a word, but we need to hear it. And what you gonna do about this border? Well, we have heard her take on that already. And what she proposes is that she gives mass amnesty to illegals. And she wants to erase the illegal identifier from these illegals. Being illegal, breaking the law in this country and all. So that's why we will be voting no to benign neglect. Because we got good sense. And unlike this youted out individual here on the screen, we are in our right and clear minds. Somebody said he was Dominican too. Like, hey, too loud and too wrong. Got a question for you.
Where's your family from?
And Rachel Scott?
Where's your family from?
And for the lady from the semaphore, definitely.
Where's your family from?
I just gotta know. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is a bad showing. Y'all could try to spin this as much as y'all would like to, but it's just not gonna work, and it's not gonna make this debacle go away. When people start witnessing what happened for themselves versus being told, because if you notice, go down to YouTube and the news, and you're just gonna see a flood of these videos about, it went badly for Trump, it went badly, and it got testy, and yeah, go watch this for yourself. Or those of you who watched it here, you saw it for yourself. And so that's why I wanted to take the time to kind of break that down. Also go into what Amanda Seals was talking about, because it points to what them Democratic women on that stage did. They avoided talking about Black issues. So that's the mandate of the Democratic Party right now. And we vote no to benign neglect. And if you can't understand that, I speak for myself. Beatzilla PDX official. The Beatzilla PDX official show. Those of you in the chat, the Black Grassroots, and the voices of new Black media, who day by day are changing the world. We proudly dedicate this song to all of you.
Get up off of that cocaine and get up off of that crack. Get yourself together and get your mind back.
Yes, indeed, and always remember, hashtag hands off our reparations.
You have no rights here. We're not under the empire.
With that being said, family, make sure you keep your notifications on because I will be doing a follow-up short video to this particular broadcast. So just stay tuned for that. That'll probably be airing sometime tomorrow. So with that being said, family, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at beatzillapdx. You can email me at ourrealtruth@gmail.com. And if you feel so inclined to support this channel, you can do so by putting some money in the bucket at CashApp, $BeatzillapDX. That's CashApp, $BeatzillapDX. We also have PayPal, which is Zilla Muzak. That is ZILLAMUZAK at PayPal. And understand, we are independent Black media, independently owned Black media. And this is what we do for y'all. The megaphone of the people, unlike those individuals that you just saw that would absolutely avoid talking about anything Black. How overtly shameful. That's all I could say. So with that being said, family, stay Black, stay vigilant, stay alive. Black first, Black first. Black first. Shalom, y'all. Peace.
When you know who Satan is, yes, sir. You don't have to kill him. No. The stone of truth. Yes. See, that's what you throw. Yes, right. Allah says, had we wished to take a pastime from before, surely we would have done it. Nay, we cast truth at falsehood till we knock out its brains. Every one of you that knows the truth, stand up and tell it from the mountaintop. Black people can't take it no more. So wherever you are on the job, in the factory, I don't care where you are. If you know the truth, stand up on the truth and tell Satan, who the hell are you to try and pick my friends? Farrakhan is God's man, and you are from the enemy of God. So to hell with you. Stand up on it like a man.